Welcome to this edition of the BRSN Insider. I'm sitting down with women's lacrosse coach Magee. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You guys are sitting at 2-0 right now. Latest poll just came out a couple days ago. Number 3 in the country, highest ranking in school history so far. Just talk about what that means for the program.
You know, it's super exciting for us, and obviously the girls were really excited to see that. I wasn't sure if they were going to put us number 5 in the top 5 or what. It's great to have that recognition from the Raiders, but we have to realize there is so much lacrosse still left to be played.
Absolutely.
It's super early, and we have to stay focused and just keep improving every day.
We'll talk about the game against the Cumberlands. That's the reason why you're sitting at number 3 right now. 16-12 win, but that really didn't tell the whole story.
So we came out super hot. The girls were obviously really jacked up. This is definitely the biggest game we've ever had on campus before. And I will tell you that we did our homework on them. We watched film religiously. We knew who their shooters were. Obviously, Jacqueline Berry and Samantha Tuller, the NAIA Player of the Year last year, we knew we had to shut her down. So we face guarded her a little bit in the first half, kind of pulled that off in the second when we started to win by a comfortable amount, I guess you'll call it. But yeah, we did our homework on them and we were prepared for sure.
So they started to make things a little bit more uncomfortable though as that game went on, as it seemed like Samantha Toller finally got in a groove there late.
Mm-hmm. So, I think we're still figuring out how to play a full 60 minutes. And again, like I said before, we came out really hot in the first half, really excited. And then second half, I think our legs looked a little bit tired. Then your decisions start to go a little bit. We have to understand when to use the possession clock. If we are up 5-6 goals against the number 3 ranked team in the country, we don't need to score off a fast break or within 10 seconds off the possession clock. We need to use the clock correctly, let the middies catch their breath.
Yeah.
So that's something we worked on a lot this week during practice.
And something I've noticed in both of the first games, you guys have been very balanced offensively. Just talk about how great your offense has been so far.
Yeah, that is something we definitely work on a lot. I don't want to have a team where it is one person that is the go-to girl. I think it's way easier to defend that way. And we're lucky that we have a lot of ladies who can put the ball in the back of the net. I think they love to set each other up for success.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot too. So it's wonderful to see us start to work with that chemistry and understand where to set each other up, who maybe wants a left-handed shot or who likes to crease roll. So I'm excited to see that progress as we play more games.
The youth has been something as well, in particular Natalie Wechter and Aiden McInerney. They've led you in scoring the first 2 games. Talk about the impact those two have had so far.
They are both just incredible athletes, and I'll speak on Natalie first. She has probably been the biggest game changer for us so far, just with taking the draw and being so successful off of that. She's a good 4 inches taller than anybody else on our team. And when you are taking the draw and those self-draws, so that's going straight up to her, that makes a massive difference. And she's a lefty, too, which a lot of defenders are not used to defending.
Yeah.
And then she can pretty much put the ball wherever she wants it on cage. So that's been huge for us. And then Aiden McInerney, similar to her sister, she has no fear. She'll drive to cage with 4 or 5 people on her. And she is just an incredibly tough cookie. Again, she can put the ball wherever she wants to in the net, too.
There's a lot of positives that came out of those first 2 games. What do you think have been the most important things that have led to your guys' success so far?
I think so far we're gaining our confidence. It is so early, but that first win over Rockhurst, that was huge for us. And now we beat the number 3 ranked team. It's playing these better teams and understanding what is a number 3 ranked team in the country.
Yeah.
What is the number 2 team going to look like? We haven't had that experience before. We played SCAD and we've gotten beat pretty bad. So it's great to be able to see what it takes to beat these higher ranked teams.
Now, with the good, there comes some bad. What are some of the things you feel like your team needs to work on going forward?
I think we definitely need to work on, like I said before, finishing the game out, right? Playing those full 60 minutes, being smart about using that possession clock, and making those smart decisions when we are tired. And I think that will come with more experience.
Yeah. You guys play a couple games this weekend. You play Lindenwood Belleville, you said on Friday. What do you know about them?
So I know they're definitely a younger team this year. They have a new coach. I know they're running a zone defense, so we got to see that a little bit against Cumberland's. We worked on that a lot this week too, and how to beat that offensively. I'm excited to see what we do against them. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some more of our reserves on the field for that game, and do a lot more subbing than we have in our first two games.
And then you get to play Indiana Tech on Saturday, another high-ranked opponent. What would a win against them do for the program?
I think, again, it would just be a massive confidence boost. It's so early right now, so the polls, it's really hard to gauge them, right? All of this is really taken on what happened last year. So we're going into the mindset of one game at a time. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen this next week and a half.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Women's lacrosse coach Amanda Magee on the BRSN Insider.
A wise man once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Back on the BRSN Insider, I'm sitting down with men's lacrosse coach Mark Blaise. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll talk about Missouri Baptist on last Friday, a 16-5 win. You guys really came alive in the second half.
Yeah, I think we outscored them 14-2 or something like that down the stretch. Went down 3-0 early. A couple of penalties that we're just going to get. We play an aggressive style of defense, and we're going to rack up some penalties at some time. So went man down. They scored 3 straight goals, and then we battled back and really kind of blew up in the second half and played the type of offense and defense that we want to play throughout the whole season.
Jet Kandoff had a really good game. I know he's battled some injuries the last year. How important is it to have him back on the offensive side of the ball?
Jack's a goal scorer. Jack doesn't have all the flash. He doesn't have all the athleticism. He doesn't have everything that you'd want from a lacrosse player. But he has the ability to score goals, which is something that you can't teach somebody. Jack and I talk about it all the time. That he might not have the outside shot, but he's able to put the goal in the back of the net, which is just kind of a mental thing that he has a huge edge over anybody else.
You guys played Indiana Tech on Sunday. You led for the vast majority of that game up until the very end. What did you take away from that game?
Yeah, we led for 59 minutes of that game. It was a really great game. Indiana Tech's a really good team. They were coming off of playing the day before. Their face-off guy was hurt, but I still think we battled them really hard. Takeaways, it's still February. We've talked about it on here before that the automatic qualifier is the number one thing for us, and so I told the guys after the game that we just don't want to be put in a situation where you're in a coin flip game in April. That's the biggest takeaway my guys took away is that they can be on that stage. But they need to extend the lead when they can.
Talk about some of the positives that you've seen from your team so far through those first 3 games.
I definitely think our defense is a huge positive. We have a lot of different guys that we can throw out there, a lot of guys that are stepping up and taking the leadership role on the defense. Our goalkeeping is phenomenal. Midfielders, we haven't really even been full strength yet. That Mobap game, we were full strength, but then Sean Molyneux gets a concussion, so he didn't play on Sunday. Offensively, I think that all the pieces are there, and it's just about fine-tuning and getting that perfected in the coming weeks.
Like you said, you guys are very, very early on in the season. What are some of the things you guys want to work on?
Definitely need to work on zone offense, man up offense. Our man down is really good right now, but definitely need to convert on some of these man up situations. Like I said, not having mental lapses. We need to work on our conditioning. We need to get a couple guys a little bit further in their development to help out some of our top level guys that maybe were a little too gassed in that Indiana Tech game. So once we can kind of do that, I think that we're really going to be a really solid team.
You talked about how great your goalkeeping has been. You've been rotating goalies. Basically, each one of them gets a half. Talk about what goes into that.
Well, I mean, part of it comes down to, you have two goalies that are both really good. It's really hard to judge who should start in practice because, we're not sitting there. We're not figuring out how many shots are on goal in practice and stuff like that. And so, I would say for the next week or so, next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we'll probably continue with two goalies. And then kind of after that, we'll probably start riding the hot hand. And that's something that is a little bit more, you can figure out in practice. But, both of them provide a lot of different looks. Dustin's kind of a bigger goalie, takes up a lot more of the cage. On a clear, he's going to sit in the crease a little bit more. Duncan, a little bit shorter, but he's a lot more active and kind of makes some spectacular saves. But, sometimes he lets in balls that maybe he shouldn't. So they're both great goalkeepers. We're in a great situation to have both of them.
So we've already talked about Jack. Another guy on the offensive side that I'd like to talk about is Peter Girard. He seems like he's a guy who, one, can score goals and is too great at setting up his teammates.
Yeah, Peter, probably is our best dodger. He can break down the field from midfield. He can break down the field from attack. You saw his quick play ability. I was going to wait until in the last seconds of the Indiana Tech game, we win the face-off. Under a minute to go, I had one more timeout, and I thought about pulling it. But when I saw Peter Girard get the ball, I kind of could see that maybe he thought he had a window, and so I didn't pull the trigger on that because Pete's got that quick play ability. He can just run around his guy. He's a really good player.
You talked about your defense so far. What are some of the things that make you guys so good defensively?
We can take the ball away. Ethan Novacek takes the ball away a lot. We preach a lot about having what we call it 90s defense. So we move our feet, but we're going to throw a lot of checks. Brody Helgzo throws a lot of checks, but he moves his feet. And so we're going to press out. I think, that's a huge advantage when we can force turnovers down the stretch.
You guys play Michigan Dearborn tomorrow. What do you know about them so far? And I know it's a team you guys have played in the past.
Yeah, no, we played them last year and lost in overtime. So we've lost 4 straight overtimes for people that are keeping track at home. They're a really good team. They have a couple really, really great players that can really score the ball. They run a zone a lot, which is why that's part of the reason why we're working on zone offense. So they throw a lot of looks at us. They can score a lot of goals. Last year, I think, was 14-15 in overtime. And so they're a really good team, and they play in in the toughest conference in NAIA, the WAC, and so they're a seasoned bunch. So it should be a great game.
And then you get Madonna at home. I believe it's on the 9th.
Yeah.
Over spring break. Very, very talented team. Talk about what are your expectations for that game.
Honestly, I could expect us to take them down on the wire. Especially after that Indiana Tech game, I definitely think that we can run with anybody in the country. Madonna's really good. They have a lot of weapons, and they are a really good team. I think that we're a really good team. So.
All right, Coach, thank you very much, and best of luck to you.
Thanks so much.
Benedictine College men's lacrosse coach Mark Blaise on the BRSN Insider.
Shakespeare once said, "Some are born great, and some have greatness thrust upon them. The rest of us," he said, "have to achieve greatness." We know exactly what he means. Be not afraid of greatness. Achieve it. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Back on the BRSN Insider, I'm sitting down with men's basketball coach Ryan Moody. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dakota.
We'll go back to Saturday and talk about that game against William Penn, a very hard-fought game. You guys pulled out in front in the second half by double digits, and then they kind of fought back and got back into the game.
Yeah, it was quite a game. First of all, environment was fantastic. It was packed house, very few in favor of the Ravens that day. And they're so talented and big. They're just gigantic. Their centers are 6'9", 270, 280 guys, and just big talented players. So, initially our game plan was to take away the inside game, and we did a good job of that. Like you said, extended a lead, and they came out of halftime gangbusters and made 13 threes in the second half. One guy made 5. They really altered kind of what they were trying to do instead of going inside and started to shoot it in, and we just had to withstand. I think we gave up the lead a couple of times and kind of stayed in the fight. I'll give our guys a ton of credit. We just found a way and made some plays and made some important plays down the stretch to win that one.
And on Tuesday, something for the first time school history, you guys became the #1 team in the country. Yeah. Talk about what that means, not only for the program, but for the school as a whole.
I mean, I'll talk about it. I'll just say this. For our players, I'm proud of them. They've earned it. It doesn't mean much at the end of February, with postseason play coming up. But it is an honor, and it's something that the program, the school, all of our alums, and our students and fans can be proud of. This group hasn't lost in a long time. We've reached that summit. That's one thing we can check off the box. But for us on our end, we're not content. We're still hungry. Yeah. But it is a huge honor. Since they've kept the stat and kept official rankings through the NAI since 2000, we've never been on the top. And so how do we react to that? That's kind of the next step, right? Is how do you react when that happens? And I think we've got a pretty level-headed group. So I'll just finish with this: we're excited. We're humbled by the honor of being the #1 team in the country currently, but we're still hungry.
You guys played Evangel last night, a team that's struggled a lot this year, but a very young team. They came out to play last night.
Yeah, they did. They're going to be really good. They're super talented. They have had some ups and downs this year, some close games, but a young freshman and sophomore group with lots of talent, lots of size, and they were prepared. They were ready for us. I thought we were maybe not at our best at times during that game, and then at times we had to be at our best to try to find a way to win the game. But Evangel's defensive preparation really kind of took us out of sync a little bit. We had some guys battling some flu and some sickness, which is not an excuse, but we had to go a little deeper in the bench, and we had to have some guys step up. And I thought that down at half in a hostile environment again, you're getting everybody's best shot. They had guys make shots that they really hadn't consistently made over the course of the last couple months. And we found a way, especially those last 5 minutes. Just found a way to grind it out, make the free throws we needed to make, bang in a couple of threes that we needed, get a couple of stops. Jaden Bristol took a gigantic charge with about 1:30 left in the game to get some separation. So really proud of our guys. Second consecutive road game, tough environment. Now we're on to the last game of the year, and it's a good feeling in a lot of different ways.
What is it like for you guys getting to come? It seems for about the last month or so, you guys have taken everybody's best shot. How do you prepare for that as a team?
That's a great question. I've never been in this position, so we're trying to figure it out as we go. But I'll give our guys a ton of credit. And we've been in the position of the hunted or the hunter. That's what I mean by the hunter. Like we've given people our best shot. So we know what that feeling is. So I think if you know that, you're prepared for it. And it's about being consistent. We're not doing anything different than we did 2 months ago, 3 months ago. We were preparing the same for every game. Our guys are practicing the same. We're getting maybe a little more rest, a little less practice minutes right now, but when we go, we go. And I think that the guys' mentality has been fantastic. They're really dialed in on just game to game. We don't worry about streaks. We don't worry about rankings. We don't worry about anything else, and we just worry about the next game in front of us. And that's a credit to those guys. They're really dialed in and focused group.
So this conference schedule is about as grueling as it can get. Talk about how fatigue has become a factor, especially later in the year.
Yeah, it has probably for everybody. We went through a flu sickness bug here the last 2 weeks, so it's hit us pretty good. But it's hitting everybody, and this is February, where this last grind of regular season games, and then everybody kind of perks back up for the postseason. You get a little extra rest, you get a couple days off, and so that'll be us next week. But this is a grind, and the Heart, I think, is one of the best conferences in the country, and it's clearly been a tough conference this year.
So what does it say about your team and the run that they've been on in this tough of a conference? Like, have you had a chance to really wrap your head around what's going on right now?
No, we haven't. And that's the reality of it is we're just trying to stay day to day. We've done a lot of things this year that none of us and probably no one else ever thought we would accomplish, but we don't want to be done. And so we're just trying to take it day to day. I know that sounds like coach speak, but it's not. We're really just dialed into trying to get healthy, trying to get rest. Trying to be as prepared as we can for the next game. And it has been fun. I tell people it's been a wild ride, but this is a reflection of a special group of players and a special group of staff, including our trainers and strength trainers and everybody else. This has been fun.
You guys go to M&U on Saturday, a team that's been really good of late. They've won 5 in a row.
Yep.
Talk about what you learned the first time. I know the game was back in November.
Yeah, it was a long time ago because of the way our weird schedule worked out this year. But first of all, Rocky Lamar, the head coach at MNU, will have them ready. Hall of Fame coach. Won more games than I'll probably ever coach in. This is a really, really good team that we're about to face who's on a hot streak. Number 1 shot blocker in the country. There's no doubt in my mind he'll be the defensive player of the year in our league. Makes it hard around the rim.
Yeah.
And our bigs are going to have to counteract that by not just shooting threes. We're going to have to score at the rim some. We're going to have to do some different things. And, they're always tough in their building. They'll have a great defensive game plan. So will we, and we'll be ready to go.
I don't know, how do you game plan against the guy that is really dominant in the paint defensively?
There's a lot of different ways to do it. I think the biggest thing we do is we got to get him moving. You can't let that guy park it right in front of the rim all night long. And there's different ways to do that, but that'll be number 1. And number 2 is not be intimidated. You have to be able to stick your nose in there and go up through his chin occasionally. And he's very talented. He's one of the best shot blockers, if not the best one I've ever coached against. And our guys will be ready to go, but there'll be a lot on the line for this game. There's a lot to be excited for on our end, and they're fighting for seeding position in the postseason, expecting a great crowd out of the Raven Nation. If you're listening, we sure hope you're down there in Olathe on Saturday at 4:00.
So we'll talk about the rest of the conference as a whole. You guys locked up the conference regular season championship. Seems like forever ago now, but the rest of the conference seems to be a mess.
It's crazy. Lots of ties right now. Lots of teams fighting for I think all the way down. Honestly, 10, 9s, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm not sure where it's decided. It looks like William Penn and Peru have separated from the pack just a little bit for the 2-3 seed wherever they end up, but. It's been crazy. And the double round robin, there's a lot of detractors, people that don't like it within the league, out of the league. And we're proponents of it, have been, not just because we're in a good spot this year, but I do think it proves where your league's at. And, but we are beating up on each other, similar to the Big Ten. The Big Ten really beats up on each other a lot too. So it'll be interesting. I think the postseason, after this last regular season game, the postseason heart turning, I think it's up for grabs. Clearly we want to be in a good spot and we want to play well, but there's so many good teams that are packed up in all that mess in the middle that who knows what's going to happen.
You mentioned the tournament. You guys are going to get a couple days off. Talk about, one, how important those days of rest are going to be, and how important home court advantage is.
Yeah, we do need some rest. So after the Saturday game, we'll be able to get at least a couple of days of really good rest. And then we'll host Thursday, March 7th, the quarterfinal game at home, and we'll play the winner of the 8-9 seed. I think that's the right dates. I hope I've got it right. But we'll host that first quarterfinal game next Thursday, and it'll be a game between 8 and 9, who we have no idea who that is right now. That'll be decided on Saturday. So we're excited. It's great. It's a great honor to be able to host. You don't have to travel. The guys were making the comment last night that trip we took, which you were on, was our last trip over an hour the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. So we're glad to be home for that tournament. We'll try to make a run and see how long we can stay and keep winning games.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much, and
Thanks,
best of luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Benedictine College men's basketball coach Ryan Moody on the BRSN Insider.